Welcome guys to the channel. Let's go ahead and compare the Pixel 5a 5G with the Google Pixel XL. Let's go ahead and get started. So the Pixel 5a 5G is obviously a newer 5G contemporary device here in 2021 for Google, while the Google Pixel XL is the first in the line of Pixel devices, and it is the first one to have an XL variant. So these are separated by around 5 years. But let's go ahead and see what the differences and similarities are. First is price tag. Pixel 5a 5G has a price of $450, which is very, very reasonable, especially in the day of $1,000 flagship devices. The Pixel XL obviously is not made anymore, is not sold by anybody except in a used second-hand market. So you could probably just get these on eBay or on Craigslist or OfferUp. And you can find these devices for ridiculously cheap, for less than $60 on the regular. So price-wise, being how old it is, you could find it for a very, very good deal. But so you have $450 brand new 5G phone with a $50, $60 old school phone, but it could still work for you. Let's take a look again. So yes, 5G on the 5A. You have LTE 4G on the XL. Not a big difference unless you're in a 5G area, but most browsing, email, messaging, all that type of stuff will work pretty fast on 4G LTE. But if you're in a fast 5G coverage area, then obviously that 5G will be way better off. The Pixel 5a weighs more too. It's around 6.5 ounces versus the 6 ounces on the Pixel XL. As for build quality, both of these are very similar. We have an aluminum frame, aluminum back on the Pixel 5a. And also you get aluminum/glass back and aluminum frame on the Pixel XL. So although these are 5 years apart, both of these have a similar build quality. But for me, I usually slap a case on the phone anyways. So build quality, unless you like to rock the phone naked, that's where you'll feel the similar build quality. Pretty good in both of these phones. One big difference between these devices, at the 5a 5G, it has an eSIM built in, while the Pixel XL does not have one. I believe it was the Pixel 2 lineup that started to have the eSIM capability. If you don't know what eSIM is, it's basically a SIM card inside the phone built in, where you could have two different phone numbers, two different data plans, two different carriers at the same time. And you don't have to physically get a SIM card to activate service. It's great for travelers, or if you're going around the world. You hop on the plane, and when you touch down, or even before you leave, you can actually set up service without going and running to get a SIM card and stuff, which not a lot of phones have. Pixel has it, iPhones have it, and some higher-end Samsung devices have it. So that's one difference between these two devices. Another difference, Pixel 5a has IP67 dust and water resistance up to 1 meter for 30 minutes. Pixel XL only has water repellent coating. So that might make a difference if you're really out and about with water, but I think most people are pretty safe. Like in my case, I don't really take my phone near anything wet or a water source. Next is the screen. We have an OLED display on the 5a, AMOLED display on the XL. They're both at 60 hertz refresh rate, so pretty average. No 90 hertz, no 120 hertz, so they're similar screens right there. You got a bigger 6.3 inches on the Pixel 5a, 5.5 inch on the XL. So Pixel 5a is pretty much a XL version, and Pixel phones have pretty much gone from pretty small to medium sized screens to like really big phones now. As for the resolution, the Pixel 5a has a 1080p display with 415 ppi density, which is pretty good. Pixel XL has a 1440 resolution, which gives you even more ppi at 534. So the Pixel XL is probably going to have a better screen, believe it or not. Screen to body ratio on the 5a is 85%. While the Pixel XL has 71% screen to body ratio. So you have bigger top and bottom bezels on the XL. The 5a has always on display, while the XL does not. And for the OS, Pixels have always been pretty good at having the fastest updates, stock version of Android straight from Google. The 5A 5G launched with Android 11 and will get several more years of updates, while the XL launched with Android's Nougat 7.1, and it got the 8 and the 9 and all the way to 10 Android. So it's pretty good. It's not actually, the XL software is actually not too old compared to when it was released. And for the most part, Android has gotten any super meaningful updates over the years. So actually both of these phones they'll feel very similarly in overall interface. So they won't feel that much difference in the software. Now for the chipset, the 5A has a Snapdragon 765G processor, Pixel XL, Snapdragon 821. Now, obviously, one is just way newer, more powerful chipset on the 5A. It's not the high end, but it was still a pretty good one. While the XL launched with a flagship one at its time with a Snapdragon 821. Now, for 90 to 95% of apps, you won't see a big difference in performance. Obviously, most apps, probably a lot of them, more than 99% of them, will launch faster than it would on the Pixel XL, but it's still usable on the Pixel XL. I'm not going to discount it and say that it's slow, but by having an older flagship chipset, it will actually feel pretty snappy for being 5 years old. But it will be very taxing when it has high-end gaming or heavy video editing. Take that out of you can't really do that in the Pixel XL here in 2021. Now for storage, big difference. 5A comes with 128 gigs of internal storage. Pixel XL started off at 32 gigs of storage. So yeah, 128 is more than enough. Everybody should be fine with that. 32 gigs, even when it was launched, was kind of skimpy, especially today in 2021. I don't think a lot of people can get by with that. I think the minimum that people could get by with is 64 at least. Both of these do share that they have no SIM card, they don't have micro SD card support, so only internal storage for these devices. As for RAM, you got 6 gigs of RAM on the 5A, 4 gigs on the Pixel XL. You won't see too many differences unless you're a heavy user and using apps one after another and having a lot of them run in the background. But obviously the 5A will hold more apps in the background than the 4 gigs of RAM on the Pixel XL, but not too much of a difference. Next is the camera setup. The 5A has 2 cameras in the back, 12 megapixel main shooter, 16 megapixel ultra wide. The XL only has one 12 megapixel shooter, and both of these phones shoot in 4K. Now, Pixels have been known to have really great cameras, but in this case, the Pixel XL is getting long in the tooth, and picture quality is probably not going to be that good, but it is serviceable, especially for a 5-year-old device. And the technology has always improved with every upgrade on the Pixel. Not a lot, but slightly. But it's been so many generations between these devices that, with that introduction of the ultra-wide camera, gives you a way better experience. It's probably the best flagship Android camera experience you could have, because Google implements a lot of software algorithms, and it's just a great experience to take video and pictures in the daytime and at nighttime. It's a flagship level camera system. Pixel XL, will take some serviceable shots, but don't expect much on the XL. For the selfie camera, both of these have an 8 megapixel shooter in the front with 1080p video, so these pretty much have the same type of selfie cameras. Both of these phones do have a headphone jack, which is nice for some people. Not me though. I kind of moved on. I haven't had a need for a headphone jack in a long time, but it's there for people that need it. Both of these have Bluetooth, 5.0 on the 5A, 4.2 on the XL. For the most part, both of these will feel the same. They'll connect to your wireless devices such as your smartwatch, your smart band, your wireless headphones, wireless speakers, stuff like that. Both of these have NFC, for payment systems like Google Pay. It's there. You got USB Type-C for charging. One feature that has stayed exactly the same is the fingerprint reader. It's a rear-mounted one, very reliable. It's not the in-display fingerprint reader that more flagship to mid-range phones have, but I actually prefer the rear fingerprint reader. So that's still pretty good. last but not least is the battery. And Pixels have come a long way with battery life, and the 5A finally has 2-day battery life. So Pixels, it looks like Pixels that finally have gotten the sweet spot for battery, and it's bigger and it's going to last longer, especially with the integration with the software. And you have a 4,680 milliamp battery on the 5A, so you get easily 2 days of battery life, while the XL has a 3,450 milliamp battery, which 5 years later, if you're gonna get this used, it's probably not gonna be, it's gonna be very worn out. But I would say, you know, maybe half a day of battery life, depending on the quality of the battery that you get. And this is an XL model. So even for an XL model, 3,500 milliamps is not that big. But one thing they share in common is that they both charge at 18 watt fast charging. So if you charge these devices, they should be pretty good and pretty fast for the most part. So comparing the specs, you pretty much know everything you need to know about these devices. It's a no-brainer. The 5A 5G is actually the better device. That you don't need a genius or to be a genius to figure that out. But if you look at the price point, $450 doesn't seem that bad at all. It's the best deal in the Android world. You're getting a flagship type phone at a mid-range price, and this phone will be good for several years. The Pixel XL, on the other hand, if you want a spare device, or you just want to have like an Android phone and just need a backup, or you want like just a stock version of Android, the XL will actually do you justice for like $50 and lower. If you could find one that doesn't have a super worn out battery, that'd be even better. But it's so weird that the build quality feels so good on these if you like to rock your phone without a case. It's just those bezels on the top and the bottom of the Pixel XL that kind of make it feel old school. If it wasn't for those bezels, these devices would be so much more similar. But a lot of things stayed the same on these. I mean, you got the stock build of Android. The software is not too far off from each other. Battery is lower on the Pixel XL. But, you know, they have a fingerprint reader. They have 4 gigs versus 6 gigs. Not too much of a big difference. I think for most people, if you could find a perfect battery on the Pixel XL, it would be a very compelling argument to spend the $50 on this instead of the Pixel 5A 5G. But overall, the better value, the better deal is going to be the 5A. But it's interesting to compare these devices and how good, in a sense, the Pixel still holds up. If it wasn't for those bezels on the top and the bottom, it would feel way more contemporary here in 2021. Well, that's my take on both these devices. Let me know what your thoughts are. I hope you subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out, pump out more videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.